very active. Start with I like to paint. We've had paintings shown all over the country now.
Probably the best thing that's happened to me since the initial fall is the fact that I was resuscitated and that I'm alive now.
I'm in control of my life. When there's something I really want to do, I can figure out a way to get there.
I enjoy life. I'm glad to be alive, and there's a lot of joy in life.
I really feel that that life has to go on and that I can control, to a point, my destiny.
I try to keep my mind open and look around. There's a lot of things out there that can be done when we learn to adapt them.
Thinking about Christina coming home was overwhelming. Am I going to be able to handle it okay? Just, you know, if there's a breakdown in the machine, will I know what to do? But as time went by, I got a lot more comfortable with it. I was pretty comfortable in the beginning, but there's always that doubt in the back of your mind that will I be able to take care of her as well as a professional who knows exactly what they're doing. But it gets easier. It gets a lot easier. Plus having the nurses here is a big plus. Yeah, but yeah, it was real scary.
Obviously, it was a big change going from being able to walk and use my arms to the position I'm in now. Just after I was injured, I really wasn't sure that I wanted to even go on living. But after I saw what I had to live for, there's a lot out there.
Well, when I got hurt, I was performing in the circus as a trapeze artist. And there isn't too much call for a quadriplegic trapeze artist. So my life changed 100% from that moment on.
It's an ongoing learning situation. Yes, I do continue to experience changes and trying new things and getting new devices for independency and so forth.
What was important that he's alive and that I get to be with him yet, and we can talk and tell each other things that we might not have been able to if he died in the accident. So you put things into perspective a little bit more. And you learn to accept one day at a time and keep doing that one day at a time, and each day gets better.
Well, after I realized that I was going to survive it and got into the rehab program, the fact that I had lost so much of my independence and would have to be dependent on others was a great problem to come to grips with.
I feel that as the time goes on, it gets a little easier to ask for help. Prior to the injury, I really never had the need to ask for help. I could do everything myself, and just freshly being injured, it was tough to ask for help. But as time goes on, you realize that that's the only way you're going to get stuff done is to ask.
So at first it was harder, to ask people, but then, once you see people, most people, though, it's like they'll ask you before you even ask them, and sometimes you can even get lazy like that too, it's just people wanting to help you too much, and then it just depends, but most people are real willing to help you, and I don't feel bad about asking for it. If I didn't need it, I wouldn't ask.
Yeah, it took a while for me to realize I was the one in control of my life. But once I did, I am in control. I've discovered a lot of things, and it's usually when I can't get to something I need. I have loops on different things, loops on my doors to open them, loops on books so I can get them off my table. When When there's something I really want to do, I can figure out a way to get there.
I have a long mouth stick near my telephone where I can press the conference button on the phone and have a phone conversation when I'm here by myself. I have an electric leg bag where I can operate that and take care of that where I don't need help. Have good neighbors in this area, and I know their telephone numbers, and they're very good. If I need help, I can call them.
You have to learn to say thank you instead of saying, I can't do anything back. You just say thank you, and you have to learn to accept it, that they are really doing it out of love. And it was hard at first for him to accept that, but we've been so overwhelmed by love that it's easy.
I was really nervous and almost embarrassed to go out in public, and now I think it's no big deal. People don't treat you any different.
They don't understand why I can't move. So I explain to them what's happened and why. And just let them know that it's still life. It's not like, my body's paralyzed, but yet I'm still here. I'm still the same person.
I find it pretty easy to start a conversation, which I think folks in a wheelchair need to do that to break the ice. It's up to us in a wheelchair to be able to start the conversation, and because most people don't know how to break the ice in a wheelchair. It's awkward for them. So if I start the conversation, I find most folks are really glad to talk.
Where people are becoming more aware of what the handicapped individual can do. They don't have to just sit at home. They can be out in the workplace. They can be involved in politics. They can be out at that basketball game cheering their team.
Yeah, when I was first hurt, I didn't like going out because people would look at me like I was different because now I'm different. And it just really bothered me. But now, since I've been at school, working, doing stuff with my church, I'm usually around people I know. And now it seems normal.
I always thought, they were either feeling sorry for me or looked at me and said, oh, poor crippled boy or something like that, and I didn't like it. I didn't like talking to other people and stuff like that, no. It was kind of hard. I had to get used to myself first. Then once I got used to myself, I didn't care what anybody else thought, and it made it easier to talk to people.
So it's pretty easy for you now?
Yeah. Talk to anybody. Yeah.
The best thing that's happened since my injury is finding Linda as my attendant. It's been great. She's keeps me independent, and we enjoy doing things together. And
Don is very good at telling us what he needs and what he wants, and I think that to encourage that, you need to be open and responsive, and whatever he says, that's fine. And if I sense that he needs some space, sometimes I just try to go off and find things to do that need to be done that aren't right in his vicinity.
I have 2 people that come by my house for about 16 hours a day. One person stays all night long, and then another one comes in just for the morning care.
Yeah, once in a while it's a little difficult, but most of them, I think, feel that they should stay out of the family area. And when we're together, they just don't infringe on our privacy, which is very helpful, very helpful. So they kind of keep to doing whatever they're supposed to be doing as a nurse when Christina is with the rest of her family. And They just make us feel comfortable. So it helps. You know, it was a little spooky at first, thinking, what's it going to be like with other people in the house, but it's worked out okay.
I think having qualified people has been our biggest problem. We get them that they don't know what to do.
And that really is a good point, because I am not a sick old man. I am a healthy young quad, basically. And the care is totally different. I don't need to be babied. I don't need to be pampered. I need someone to get me dressed and to get me up in the morning. And that is real important. So I think looking for an agency, it's extremely important to check the background out and make sure that they do have rehab experience and not just nursing home experience.
The qualities I look for in an aide is probably being on time, willing to listen and do what I want them to do, instead of come in and say, wait a minute, I do it this way. Because everybody's different, and everybody does different things different ways, and if they're willing to listen and do it the way I want to do it, then we get along just fine. Otherwise, there's a clash.
I like somebody that is energetic, has a good sense of humor, that has a good head on their shoulders. It helps that they're multi-talented. A lot of, we need to do a little maintenance around the house from time to time. I hope they're good drivers.
For an attendant, I need someone who's trustworthy, reliable, and friendly. And I think that's the most important things to me.
As Christina's mom, I try to stay out of the way of the nurses while they're doing what they are supposed to do. But I do take part in it because, of course, I want to make sure it's being done right. And I think Christina feels a little more comfortable when I'm doing it, because I am her mom. It just seems that she's more relaxed. If an emergency comes up and we panic for some reason, if I step in and start doing the steps, even though the nurse is doing exactly what I would be doing, she seems a little more calm that I'm there. So I do try to step in some cases, but then I try to stay away also because Christina needs to know that I have a life away from being a nurse, that I am not the nurse. I have my other 2 children and my husband and the house and lots of other things to take care of as a mother.
I think it's important I want to be the wife and the mother to our kids. I don't want to be the nurse's aide, and that's why it's important to us to get qualified people, because I do leave that up to them. And I trust them and feel comfortable with them.
And not only that, I'm pretty tough to deal with.
During the winter, I don't get out as much because it's too hard in the snow and stuff like that. Then I become a Nintendo junkie, but during the summer, I'm gone all day and every day mostly, so I get out quite often.
You spend a lot of time just playing with the kids in new ways. Like he said, board games, or the kids will pull up a stool next to him and bring their books and turn the pages while he reads them a story, or things like that.
I go to the grocery store at probably every 8 or 10 days. That's a requirement. I do little errands, such as sometimes I have to go to the post office to send a package or whatever, and go in my van to visit people. Sometimes I do things in the form of entertainment. Like this week we've gone out to the stock show here in Denver, and other times we have some hunting dogs. We take them out in the country and let them run for a little exercise. I go out probably, it varies, but 4 or 5 times a week maybe, sometimes maybe once or twice.
I think I've done about everything I would like to do. I got back into skydiving for a little while. Right now I have a computer and I'm writing a book, and I just love doing that. I do drawing on my computer. I've come up with kind of a line of stationery and cards and pictures.
One of the things I do for hobbies is going hunting. And, you know, I was told that I can't really shoot. Talk to the people at the college about designing something. You know, and what they come up with would cost $10,000-12,000. So sat down with some friends and designed a crossbow that I can shoot myself and have been successful. Get out in the field and go deer hunting again. So all the things are still there. It's just have to figure out different ways of doing them.
Prior to my injury, I was a firefighter, and now 2 years, 4 months, and 3 days later, I'm going to be going back to work. It's going to be a big change, obviously. The thing is, I won't be able to do the fun stuff. I won't be able to do the firefighting and rescue. I'm going to start out going back to work doing approximately 2 to 3 hours a day. I know it'll never be like it used to be, 50, 60 hours a week, but I'm looking forward to maybe 2 to 3, 4 hours a day, possibly 5 days a week.
Because of the way the Social Security laws are set up, and even our own company's disability policies, it would be of actual financial disincentive to go back to work because of reductions of these benefits.
I was really concerned about my benefits being cut off going back to work. I talked with my insurance company, and we worked it out where I'll have approximately 15 months to go back to work, to either work up to full-time or to try to determine some way to avoid losing benefits and still being able to work. But I highly recommend that if someone's going to try to go back to work, that they look into it pretty extensively to make sure that they're not going to jeopardize benefits. Because I know how hard it was for us to apply for Social Security, and if we were to happen to lose the Social Security because I went back to work, I know we would have to start the nightmare paperwork all over again.
I went back to school a few years ago after telling myself for about 4 years, I can't do that, I'm a quad. Then I discovered the reason I couldn't do it was that I didn't want to. And school was possible. I worked for a while, and then I had to stop because of health. And now I'm writing this book, and it's wonderful.
As I mentioned, I am looking into volunteer activities that won't affect my benefits, just to keep mentally active.
I met Liz through a friend of mine, and we talked, you know, for a while, and then we became friends first over the phone because she lived out of state, and then she came back one night, or came over one night, and then I asked her for a kiss goodbye, and that was it from there.
Yeah, I have a boyfriend. He lives in New York. Makes for a real interesting relationship. I've flown back there the last 2 summers to visit him, and we're hoping he'll come out this winter. We met through the mail, and that's a whole nother story.
Parenting with an injury, I found was challenging, but I also found that there's a lot of things that you can do differently. I can sit down now with my son, who is 6 years old, and we'll play Monopoly for 4 hours, which is pretty amazing. I mean, we would have never done that before, prior to the injury. I push them around in their big wheels. They ride on my chair. And they help Dad now, instead of Dad being the person that helps out. They help Dad, and it takes a different perspective because we sit down and we talk about things that we probably wouldn't have done before the injury.
It's natural to be bitter or angry at first, but I wouldn't let it hold you down, because there's still so much more out there to do.
The most difficult part of coping with my injury as a quadriplegic is not having the total independent life, which I had at the time of my injury. Now I need help a lot to get me in and out of bed, fix my meals, and just take care of things around the house in order to keep my lifestyle the way it is. So I've lost total independency. I miss that.
I have a bad hair day just like anybody else does. And a lot of times if I'm not feeling well, that's when my mood goes really down. And I know it's gonna happen, and it still happens. So I just need to kick back and relax and not try to do things. And I know it will change. You know, things always change.
I guess you just have to take life, one day at a time, and what's dealt to you is dealt to you. And take it from there. Sure, it wasn't fair, but I guess if you look at the alternative is 6 feet under pushing daisies up, it's definitely worth it to be riding around in a chair.
He always thinks that he's holding us back or we're a burden to him. But to me, it's just natural now to have him around, and this is the way it's been, and it's just part of us that he's going to be this way, but we know how to take care of him, and we're glad that he's with us. So, and I always have the feeling that if we really want to do it, there's a way we can do it. And so we try to find ways that we can do things. So whenever he's in his down mood, we try to find something different to do. And he'll say, but we can't do that. And we say, oh yeah, watch. So we try, so.
I have no choice.
Yep, he gets pushed right into it.
So to speak.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
I've learned to enjoy what I have and do with what I have and make the most of that and still keep myself, you know what I mean? Still be me, and I think that's the most important thing. And if I can still be me and, be happy, and which I am, I'm not sad about nothing. It happened, so I can't do nothing but go on, and that's what I'm doing.
I look at life a lot differently now, and there's, you have to take time to stop and smell the roses, I guess, which you don't think about prior to the injury.
My advice to families of newly injured people would be to be patient. It gets better. And be thankful, because things could be worse. It does get better and life goes on, and life can still be good.
I'd say to someone newly injured, it does get better.
It does get easier, definitely.